Howdy YouTube folks, it's your friendly neighborhood girl Ellen, and I was watching TV. Your YouTube neighborhood girl Ellen. And I was watching TV. Hold on a minute, let me get a drink of water. Let's make sure that's out of the way too. And I thought I would do another video of diagnosing, because I've felt like I need to do a lot of do some more diagnosing videos, because I want to diagnose these. And this has been a long since abandoned project that I've had for a little while, and the case is in rough condition. I do want to restore the case at some point, and I will. I will get there. But the wood is solid, it's just the material, and like one of the hinges is broken, so that will need replacing. Excuse me, I just had my afternoon meal and I did not mean to burp. This is kind of chewed up a little, but this is the instruction manuals. It is a tri-purpose pictorial projector model AAA. And I believe, what company is it made by? Let's see here. I forget what company this is made by, but I had to look at the tag. Okay, so it's manufactured by the Society for Visual Education, Inc. So this was probably one that may have been used in a school. I don't know the origins of this. I'm just betting that's probably what this was, like a school or a college, like a grade school or high school or college. Most likely would be my guess of where this was used. And so basically I'm just going to go through an overview of this, and I will do a restoration video on this one, but I kind of just want to do a overview with you guys, so you can look at and see what I'm seeing and what is wrong with this machine. Obviously the cord is definitely getting replaced, hands down, for starters. That's the first thing I will do before I go through testing this, but I do want to make it work. Here's the lens for it, and here's the I believe this is for, yeah, slide changer. This is the slide changer, as I thought. It says it right on it. That comes up like that and then goes down in. The lens looks in pretty decent shape. Obviously it's going to need to be washed and cleaned, but it's still in good condition otherwise. I'll set that right here, and then we'll take the machine out itself, and I'll put the slide changer over here too. It's missing some parts. There was like a square glass, I believe it's like a piece that slides in, that the slide magnifies the slide. That needs to be replaced, because I'm looking at it right now and I think it got busted in the case from being shifted around. So it is what it is. I will pull those out eventually, and I will rebuild that. I also want to vacuum this case out and maybe try to salvage the interior of the case at least, but I've got a feeling that's going to get all reworked too, because that is quite old, and I'll find something that's closest match to that bluish material. This is one I really want to see working again, and this is one I'm probably going to hang on to for my personal collection, at least for now, because I've had it a while, and I think it's a really nice looking unit, and it's of my bracket of the ones I'm mainly into, like the 1920s through early 1960s bracket. And I believe this one is probably, if I had to guess, actually I could look at the instructions here and see if there is a date on it, but if I had to guess, I want to say this one is 20s or 30s, 40s minimum, just given by the styling of it and how it's made. That's what I believe it is. I mean, it could be newer, but I'm thinking that's what it is. It was made in like the 20s or 30s. 40s, again, 40s maximum. I believe this one has a vacuum tube projection bulb in it, if I'm not mistaken, but I will look at that again. Most of these really early ones did. I am not finding a date on this, so that's my hunch, is that's when this was made. It's too bad these instructions weren't in better condition, but it is what it is. Still pretty nice unit, and the fact that these are still in existence to me is just saying something. And I'm trying to open it. The cover came off, ripped off of it, obviously because it's worn out, because I was trying to see if there's a date, but the fact that this still exists to me is enough in itself. But anyways, yeah. So that's my hunch of era. Now let's pull it out of the case so I can set the case down, because this case is really dirty and it just needs to be cleaned up and gone through. This whole machine needs a good cleaning. It's got some surface rust on it here and there, and I wish I knew what kind of material they use for like this outer coating stuff, because I would have it redone, obviously, if I could, to make this as mint of a machine as possible. I think if I had that done, I would take it to somebody who knew what they were doing with these old machines when I had the funding to really make this machine its best machine. Because obviously right now it's not bad, but it's got like surface rust on it in areas, and I think it could really be improved on. But as I suspected, and I will show you guys. Let me move this out of the way first, though. It is a vacuum tube style in there. I hope you guys can see that. The vacuum tube, I'm trying to find the part number on that vacuum tube. But yeah, that's what it is. It is a vacuum tube style, as I thought. Very simplistic. Yeah. I just recently, side note, hopefully coming later this week, am waiting to get on order, because I've been saving the funding for it, and it's only around $16–17, is a vacuum tube tester, which I think is pretty cool. That I found it on Amazon. Excuse me, I had to blow my nose again. And it's made so you can plug it right into like a battery, like a amp tester, you know, like a little portable electric, you know, little electric testers that you hold in your hand. The one I have is a blue cobalt one, and I'll show you that real quick also in this video. But yeah, essentially, and I'll show you guys it when it comes in. Essentially, that tester I'm getting for vacuum tubes just plugs into these two ports right where these go on the little voltmeter. I think that's what I was meaning to call that, voltmeter. I have two of these. One is a really old school ohms meter. This one, which I'm yet to test again if it still works. This is the second meter I've owned. I had a quite smaller one that was an ohms meter, and obviously years ago I believe it stopped working, and so I ended up with this one from a relative that didn't want it anymore, and it was still working at the time, but I'm yet to test it to see if it still works in general. So maybe I'll do a video on that, showing it working and testing something with it. The only reason I keep that ohms meter around is for backup, because as most of you know, and a lot of you nowadays probably have, the updated, dated, more electronic, like that blue cobalt one that I have, something like that you can get baseline at Home Depot. Most people don't really use the ohms meter anymore. For those of you really old school, really into the old school appliance repair like this, some of you may still actually use one of those though. As myself, like I said, that's just a backup. That's how I started. That's how most of us did, I believe, with an ohms meter. Kind of cool. Throwback. But anyways, this is the bottom of it. this is the on and off switch of this unit. I do believe right there these wires will probably have to be redone to some form because those look less than desirable right there. I hope you can see them. Yeah, those look less than desirable. Here, I'll hold it back. Yeah, those. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, they're on the on and off switch wires. They're less desirable. The material's already coming off of this cord. So I'm probably going to remove this cord as of now and just label it because, if I can, because that is just crumbling. Next, I want to look at any other like internals on this that could be bad. That could also hinder us from actually getting this restored because who knows, maybe this thing could be beyond restoration. It has sat a long time and it's in pretty rough shape. It wasn't in the greatest condition when I got it, but it's really rough from sitting. And it's sad because this is a nice unit. So what I'm going to do now is possibly, let's see. Oh, that's the, that cord goes right up into the socket itself. So it's just a one standalone unit. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so let's see if I can get this off of here and see if there's a way I can kind of get that cord off of there. I would like to take the cord off in one whole piece and not cut it so I can mark where it needs to go. But I've got a sneaking suspicion, looking at this further, that that cord might be the socket itself, and I might have to do a complete resoldering job to that to do it the right way. And there's two right here. I just took one out. There's one there and one there. And I believe there's some more up here, possibly holding this on. But there's two right there, but the problem I'm noticing with this right here is that I think I have to take this whole plate off before I can get to that. So if you're working on one of these, maybe this will be helpful. We're kind of going along in this together because I've never actually worked on a unit like this. This is kind of new to me, but this is going to be cool to see this thing in working action again. I believe the base I could easily restore on this, but again, I would love to know if anyone's worked on any of these, what that kind of like material they used to restore or to paint on these, because it's got kind of like a scaly look to it, is what I wanted to say. And hopefully you can see that. If anyone knows, please feel free to comment below how the process they did for this, because I would definitely, if I could take it completely apart and find someone who could do that and refurbish this for me and do exactly that and do it up perfectly on the cosmetics, I would, just to bring it back to that luster. Even though I do kind of like the original a little bit, it would still be cool maybe just to get the rust off of it at least and preserve it better, because I believe it's worthy of being preserved better. And if you could recreate that kind of scaly design somehow, because I believe, I could be wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I am kind of new to these things right here. I'm from what I've looked up before in the past, if I remember correctly, this is actually the way it was made when they laid it on there, to give it like a ceramic look maybe, or something like that, would be my guess. But yeah, so now the fun begins, and I think I have to remove the, yep, so there's two screws on the side, one here, and there's probably going to be one on the other side, obviously. And then there's a screw right here, and you have to remove, I believe you have to remove these two as well to take it off. Here is what I've just observed, and I'll show you the two right here. Those, if you can see them. That one and that one, I believe both have to be removed, but we'll find out here in a minute, and I'll let you know if both of them or just one. But that's why I didn't see any on the bottom. Again, there's probably people watching this going to be watching this video once it's posted that know more about these than I do. And I totally get that, because projectors I'm kind of new to. I'm more of like the radio guru type of person and not projector. So who knows? I probably will come across somebody who knows way more than I do about these than myself, which is totally understandable, because obviously, like I said, I'm just kind of new to these, and I'm hoping I can get the cord removed, and then I'm going to mark the cord with something like tape or something, so I know which one went to which as I pull it off, so that way I can, unless I find that it's all the way up in the socket, then I'll just leave it on, and for the time being, because that means I'll have to rework the whole socket, which I got a feeling might be the case. Sadly, I'm hoping it's not, but I got a sneaking suspicion that's what's going to end up having to happen, is that I may have to rework the whole socket, which is life. If I have to, I have to. So be it. I really don't want to have to, but sometimes that things happen. Again, like I said, I really want to see this one up and functioning properly, because this is a very cool looking projector, and I don't think I've seen too many of these for sale locally, so to me that's even cooler. Gives it an even more cool factor, because it's kind of like a semi-rare specimen, but who knows, maybe tomorrow I'll come across one of similar that's more local to me and be like, and it may not end up being as rare as I feel it to be. But I feel like these ones are probably slightly more rare, and also correct me if I'm wrong on that, because of the age of them. I'm assuming not many of them survived, you know, over the years, as they made different model projectors, and stuff like this just got tossed by the wayside, and this one possibly just happened to be stored in someone's attic or wherever it got into this state, and they just never got around to throwing it out, and that's why it survived like it did, you know. That's always my hypothesis. That's merely just a hypothesis. That's not a factual statement. So, yeah. But now we'll see if this thing will remove itself, because I'm really rooting for it. And I do think I have to remove both of those, which is life. They will both get removed. Obviously, I had a hunch that might be the case. Happens. I think this is kind of a different way of doing it, and maybe it's possible that somebody put these in wrong, and maybe this one is meant to go where that smaller one was on the other side, which is possible. Somebody's been in working on this, but I noticed that there was a small one on the other side on this panel right here. That was like the stubby one in my hand right here, if you can see that. And it was on the other side, it was in there, but on this side they had put it in here, so maybe somebody had been fiddling with it and they put it in the wrong spot, or they just did that from the corporation. That's quite different. I mean, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there was a little bit of that going on back in the day, where that's the way they made them, because companies just did what worked, I guess. So now this should be fun to get this off, but this should give us the access we need to that. Easily. Let's see how that goes in. I think there's a bar that goes across that has to come out too. Yeah, that's what it's looking like. There's some sort of bar in there that has to come across in order for me to be able to pull that out. So I may have to disassemble this further than I thought I did. We may not be disassembling this fully today, but I have showed you basically what I feel it needs. So, oh, wait a minute. If I just swivel this out of the way, I can probably just set it like that for now. And that should be pretty good. And then we can get access to these. Oh, this is a hinge piece of some kind right there. So, yeah, we're both learning as we go. All of us YouTube folks, we're learning together. So, yeah. So now I think I can remove this, and I should be able to see down in that plate. Oh, those aren't there. I need to pull the sides off as well. I may have to do further pulling apart of this that I may not want to do on this video, so this may not fully get stripped down as I thought, but you get the idea, and we've kind of looked it over to see what it would need. And so we know it's going to need a new cord, but I kind of wanted to show you guys on the video what the how the cord's set up, if I could find, so we could see together what it would take to dismount that cord. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that that cord is attached to the actual vacuum tube socket, and that I'm going to have to rework that socket or find a replacement socket that will work in it, maybe with a more updated vacuum tube to retrofit this to make it work, which would be quite an intricate piece then. And that's where even though I'd like to see this work, I may actually end up having to decide, is it going to be worth me fixing this or just keeping it as is. But if I could just rework the socket and put new pins in it to replace where those are attached, if that's the case, that would be awesome, because then I think that would just be so much easier than doing the complete retrofit rework job that I feel I may have to do. And again, like I said, that's to be honest where I might sway whether it'd be worth me putting time into this any further than just keeping as a shelf item. The reason I want to make this work is because I would love to find some original slides of some kind, maybe like educational slides for like a school that would go to something like this in the setup, make it work, and maybe do some videos of, like, say it's like a slide of the Grand Canyon or something, you know, like that, and do videos on this, of this thing actually working with the different slides. And you utilize this as a YouTube video thing. And so, like, say I find as I collect more slides and different things, like say I find a bunch of slides of the Grand Canyon, like I just said, I can utilize those slides for one video, but then in the next video I can do slides of someone maybe took pictures of what Washington D.C. looked like back when one of these was brand new and in service or near new. So, like, say this was built in the 1920s, like I think it may have been, that I can show slides of what it was like back then when something like this would have been used. So you can get kind of like the view of the lifestyle of that era, you know? I just think that'd be kind of cool. Collect the slides and kind of do something like that. A little homage to that era. A little, like, fun thing. Yeah, I think that'd be a cool, fun, and I'm actually looking at it, and I realized the cord comes off very easily. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but since I pulled this black plate off, and I'm trying to keep it in the orientation it came off, because one screw is shorter than the other, and I think there's a reason for that. But underneath this plate is where the cord attaches with 2 flathead screws holding it on. So I am definitely going to be marking those. And I will be finding some tape and marking those. That I'll probably do off camera, just because I got to go look for the tape. I don't have it. But I think I will attempt at taking one of the screws out, maybe just to show you what it looks like. Or better yet, I will bring you guys closer to the machine. But wow, that's more simple than I thought it would be. And as you can see, all that stuff on the table is just the cord disintegrated. And yeah, that's what happens when a cord ages after 80 plus years, or how many ever years old this is, you know. I want to say 20, so that's got to be 80 plus years at least, if not better. 88, 90 years. But yeah, see those screws right there? There's one on each side, and that holds it in. I thought it was going to be soldered into like a pin connector system to the socket itself, because that wouldn't surprise me of this era if they did something like that, especially on, like, because every model of projector is probably made different, so different companies did different things with their stuff, and that's what was going through my head. I also don't know if this vacuum tube is any good. That is also going to be found out. I think when I can get the chance and I can get the sheet metal off, once I get it repowered with the new cord, I will probably pull the vacuum tube out before I use my new vacuum tube tester once I get it, to make sure, which I believe that is a vacuum tube, like a vacuum light filament tube of some kind is what I believe it to be. I mean, please enlighten me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Classified as a vacuum filament tube for these, from what I've looked up a little bit of on this kind of stuff. Again, like I said, I'm not very knowledgeable, but once I do that, just pulling that so I can look at the pins on that tube just to make sure they're not completely corroded and make me dead in the water. And also, if that's the case, hoping there's a number or like a model number or something on this tube, so I know what to swap it to. And if any of you know this model and that are watching this video, or are going to watch it when it's up, if you know what type of vacuum tube would be a good equivalent for this, if the case needed be for one of these and you've serviced one of this model before, please, if you wouldn't mind enlightening me, because I would love that. Because again, like I said, I want to try my best to bring this back to life. No guarantees. I really want to, but there's also a logical part of me that knows that there's a time when you have to say when on certain things, and sometimes, because like I told you, the cord's pretty bad on this one, and it is rough, and it's a long, since abandoned project, but I've got full confidence that I think this will come back, and I'm got full confidence I believe that tube will be fine, because from looking at it from an above standpoint, and I will take a picture, I will take a snap of it, show you guys it. Sorry, hold on a minute. But, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but and hopefully you can see that, but from looking at it at an upwards view, maybe I can, you know what, I'll get my light in here, and hopefully that doesn't too bright, sorry, for sporadicing you and that one. But I don't know, you tell me, guys, do you think from what you can see right there, maybe it might be easier if it's pulled out? I think that tube doesn't look that bad myself, and looking at it from my point of view, the tube to me looks okay. Like, it's still a usable tube. It doesn't look like, from what I can see, any internal wires have snapped off. Obviously, again, I won't know until I pull it out, and I'll show it to you better once I pull it out when I do the service on this. But I've got confidence that this tube, or once I start the service on it, because if the tube is no good, obviously, that will halt us right dead in the water. But I got confidence that tube is okay. I really have faith that that tube is fine, and all we really need to do is rewire this, and it should go right back. Obviously, that's a really old on and off switch, but I'm hoping I can rebuild the original on and off switch and rewire it somehow, worst case scenario, but because those wires obviously are old, and I think they probably technically should be replaced that are on it. The ones right there, I hope you can see them. Yeah, right there. So I'm hoping that I can rebuild the original switch too. That will not only for one save me on cost, but also two because it's original to the machine, and I'd like to keep as much of the original parts to this machine as possible to keep it that way. So anyways, YouTube folks, that is where I'm going to cut this video. As you can see before I close out, look at all that stuff. That's just this cord. I can hold it in my hand, smack it on the table, and more bits will fall off of it. That's what all this debris is, which I'll have to wipe up, is all insulation from this old rotted cord. So that tells you that this cord is the most likely the original cord, and that thing has been on there since new. And wherever this was stored, obviously did it in for the cord. I think partly did it in for the cord, and also obviously due to age. And I'm probably doing this thing a favor by swapping that out. And I possibly may end up also putting a ground in this for a ground style outlet, obviously, if I do that, if I can find a spot to ground a wire. I'm doing this a favor because I'm making this machine much safer by adding a ground if I can help it, because this on-grounded stuff obviously can be very dangerous. But I mean, if I can't, so be it. But I really prefer the on-grounded stuff. Thankfully, since doing renovations, I will also say this before I close out. In our house, we have ground faulted outlets where I can plug this stuff in, so I'm not superly worried. But because usually they trip the breaker, but you just never know. And I also like multi-strips, and I want to get some updated multi-strips because I've had some of them for a while. That one's not super old right there, but I have ones upstairs that I've had since like 94. They've at least been around since like 1994, and they were ones my grandparents had that I inherited, and I've been using, and they still work, but one of them, the light is kind of iffy on it, and I just want to replace them because they're old, and they're due for replacement. So yeah, anyways, YouTube folks, that is going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this kind of overview, and be looking for restoration videos on this one. This should be a pretty fun one. This, again, is going to be in my, I believe I said is going to stay in my personal collection either way, but I'm hoping I can get it working. But either way, I'll probably just, if it ends up being something not really worth fixing, I'll just put it back together, obviously, and refinish the case and change out the cord anyways, because we'll have to for testing it. And again, like I said, redo the case and make this just a nice decorative item, because most of the time that's probably what this will do, until if and when I ever did find like slides for this or reels for it. I think it's got slides, and it's also got like a reel mechanism here, so there may be some reels that are supposed to go to this. Please also too, before I close it out, if any of you know and you wouldn't mind enlightening me on, let's see if I can get it to turn here, on what that does right there. Please, any information, I'm greatly appreciated. I'm assuming this is also for some sort of like, maybe the slide goes in there and it winds itself around. It's like a reel type slide, I would assume. But anyways, as always, keep your heads up, stay strong, all that kind of jazz. Have an excellent time, whatever it is, wherever you are. As always, sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows. And yes, someday there will be a video done where I show off that magnet if I find it, because I do want to get new magnet pieces glued into it, and eventually where I'm set up to do a lot of projects like this, I want it to be in the background, kind of like a mascot to the thing, because again, like I said, I believe I showed it in a video and it's out in my shop, but I don't honestly quite honestly, I don't remember that, so, to be factual. So, yeah. And as always, I stated this in the last video, but I don't expect it. But if you wouldn't mind liking, commenting, and subscribing, that would be awesome. And if you want to hit that notification bell, you could do that too. Full notification, half notification, or you just don't want to be notified whatsoever. That's totally fine. No pressure. I also, sorry, I keep saying I'm going to close out the video, but I also thought of something too, but I highly doubt I would ever do it, because I would have to get my videos up to the quality I would want them first anyways, even before I would consider it. But sitting here now, I've kind of contemplated the thought of maybe like making merch for this channel, even though I said I probably would never do anything for money. But I don't think I will, because obviously, like I stated before, I just, for some reason, I respect people who make merch for their channel. And obviously there's channels I've watched and haven't watched some in a little while, because I've kind of just been cruising YouTube, and I would obviously donate to their channel and probably buy some of their merch. But I don't think that I would want to do it, because, again, like my standpoint on it, I respect people who do it, but I don't fully understand it, because maybe it's just me, but I don't view YouTube as a very viable career, in my opinion. Yes, a place you can make videos and a side hustle maybe, but as a viable career, I mean, come on. Because you think about how many advertisements are on YouTube, and how most YouTubers probably only get, what is it, they only get paid like $5 or less for each advertisement they endorse on their videos. So it's like, you know, come on, that's not even enough to thrive on. Say there's only 2 advertisements on your video and you're making $5 a pop off that. That's only $10 for that one video. Unless it's times by how many people watch those videos. And still, I don't really want to go to that commercial level, because I just don't get the whole commercialism aspect of it. And I just don't think that's fair to people who view other people's YouTube channels, to feel obligated to be sucked into the commercialism, or be forced to pay a subscription to buy YouTube Premium just so you don't have to deal with commercials. That's totally unfair, when you know that a lot of channels that are doing that are making money in other areas and not just commercials. So, you know, that's the flip coin of it. But again, like I said, there are YouTube channels that I obviously, hands down, would probably support, because I really like their content and I really like their personalities and them as a person, that I would definitely give money to if I could afford to give money to help in that. And I just thought of that maybe I could create some merch of some kind. But as sitting here and thinking more, I probably, like I said, probably won't, just for that reason. But anyways, I will catch you in the next video, and don't expect to see merch, but who knows, maybe it will be a possibility if I ever decide to, because the thought has swayed in my head. Well, anyways, YouTube folks, I will be signing off now.